There are countless ways of stabilizing whipped cream, but which way is actually the best? Today, I'm going to show you how to make 8 different types of stabilized whipped cream, and then we'll test them head to head over 6 hours in sweltering conditions to see which will last the longest. We are looking for the cream of the crop. Whipped cream is delightful. It's versatile and delicious. A great topping for pies, desserts, and even as frosting for cakes. The main drawback though is its lack of longevity. Within an hour at room temperature, whipped cream already begins to lose its shape and weep out liquid, potentially ruining a dessert. This happens even quicker at higher temperatures. That's why many recipes call for whipping cream at the very last second, right before serving. But sometimes this just isn't possible. Thankfully, there are ways to stabilize whipped cream to help preserve its structure for longer. The problem is that there are so many ways out there, and who knows which way is the best. Already in the first couple results, okay, this one has 5 ways. The second one is 5 ways as well, so like with that 10 different methods already, how are we supposed to know which one's gonna work? Every single recipe claims to work and work magically, but they don't actually have anything to back up these claims. To get to the bottom of this, we're gonna have to test these ourselves. I chose 8 of the most common methods that kept popping up. I'll be able to score each out of 5 in the following categories. 1, ease of use. 2, taste and texture. 3, economy, so basically cost per serving. And 4, stabilization power. I'll average all of these scores to arrive at a final score in order to rank each method to find our winner. First, let's go through how to make all of the different whipped creams. I've standardized the recipes to use 1 cup of cream and 2 tablespoons of sugar. I've left out any flavoring agents like vanilla extract so that we'll really be able to taste how each technique affects the cream's flavor. Full written instructions for all of the methods in the description below. First up, good old standard whipped cream. This will be our control subject. Make sure you're using cream that's at least 33% fat, and ideally it should say that it's for whipping. It's important that the cream is fridge cold, otherwise it may not whip properly. 1 cup cream goes in a large bowl. Add 2 tablespoons sugar. If you're using flavoring, add them here as well. Use a hand mixer, stand mixer with whisk attachment, or even just a whisk by hand. Start on low speed to prevent splattering. Once the cream is thickened a bit, gradually increase the speed. Keep whipping until the cream starts to hold soft peaks. At this point, I like to switch to a whisk and finish whipping by hand. This way, it's much harder to over whip. Keep checking the consistency of the cream. It won't take long before it's reached firm peaks. Once it's holding a peak, don't whisk any further. Otherwise, the fat in the cream will clump together, creating a grainy texture. If that happens and it's not too far gone, add a splash of liquid cream and gently stir together to smooth out the texture again. Yep, this is the whipped cream we all know and love, full of fresh, creamy flavor. When piped, it does an alright job, a little loose and not quite stiff enough to hold a clean edge. As you can see, the fine details are lost. Next up, cornstarch. Whisk together 2 tablespoons sugar with 1 tablespoon cornstarch. Proceed as before, gradually whipping until firm peaks. The cornstarch creates a noticeably stiffer cream. I can feel a slight resistance in the whisk. The structure bodes well for longevity. The cream is able to hold great definition when piped. Look at how nice those edges are. My worry though is that because the cornstarch won't be cooked, we'll be able to taste the raw starch and feel a gritty texture. Sure enough, right off the bat, I feel that grittiness. That raw starch flavor is pretty apparent as well. Both the texture and the flavor really linger in the mouth. So yeah, it's not great. I probably wouldn't choose to serve this to anyone. Alright, milk powder. Add 2 tablespoons sugar and 3 tablespoons milk powder to the cream. Whip it as usual to firm peaks. The theory here is that the extra protein from the milk powder will stabilize the cream. The texture is still pretty light here. I can see a little bit of graininess from the milk powder. When piped, the definition is pretty good. I'd say it sits between cornstarch and our control. I'm happy to report that you can't actually feel the graininess. In terms of flavor, you know that cooked dairy flavor? It's subtle, but it is present. With some vanilla, it won't be noticeable. It's hard to talk with the dairy coating in my mouth. All right, instant pudding. It's crucial to use instant pudding mix and not regular. The key ingredient here is modified starch. Modified means that the starch has been pre-cooked before being dried and ground again to a powder. This way the grittiness and raw flavor has been taken away. Modified starch is able to thicken without heating, and it shouldn't really clump. Add 2 tablespoons sugar and 2 tablespoons instant pudding mix to the cream. Whip as usual. At first it feels just like whipping regular cream, but gradually it gets thicker and thicker. The texture is noticeably denser and firmer. It's basically impossible to achieve this kind of firmness in regular cream without over whipping it. The pipe definition is just wonderful. Look at how it's holding really sharp and clean edges. In terms of eating experience, let's see, the texture is smooth, so no grittiness at all, that's nice. But it's really thick and kind of heavy feeling. It's kind of lacking that lightness of whipped cream that I really love. The pudding I used was vanilla, so I can taste just a tiny hint of artificial vanilla. I think with pure vanilla added on top, it won't be a problem at all. Mascarpone. Or is it mascarpone? Hey Google, is it pronounced mascarpone or mascarpone?
That's pronounced mascarpone or mascarpone.
Oh shit. Okay, mascarpone. No, that feels wrong. I'm just gonna keep calling it mascarpone, sorry. Add sugar to whipped cream. Whip until soft peak stage. Then add in 3 ounces or 85 grams mascarpone and whisk to combine. Keep whipping until the cream reaches the desired consistency. The mascarpone has made the cream a tiny bit grainy. Look at how those edges are a little bit wavy. The good news though is that you can't feel the graininess in the mouth at all. That is purely visual. It's really good. The flavor is really rich and extra creamy, so like decadent and luxurious. It's really nice. My main problem is the cost of mascarpone. At least where I live, it's super expensive. I paid $14 for this tub. That's kind of a lot. But maybe it's all worth it. It is delicious, but we'll have to see how well it stabilizes. Cream cheese. This will work pretty much just like the mascarpone, except cream cheese is much more affordable. The downside, depending on how you look at it, is the flavor. Cream cheese is noticeably tangy and slightly salty. Depending on what you're making, this could be either good or bad. Cream cheese is so thick that it's a bit tricky to incorporate. To prevent lumps, first combine cream cheese with 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. The extra sugar will make up for the saltiness of the cheese. Use the beater attachment to mix the two together until smooth, then gradually add in the cream a little at a time, beating until smooth after each addition. Once all the cream has been added, whip until firm peaks. As you can see, this cream pipes beautifully. The texture is so smooth, really rich and thick. I actually love the taste of the cream cheese here. That touch of salty tanginess really lifts the richness of the whipped cream. But yeah, I'd say that this does limit the versatility of the cream because it won't go with absolutely everything. White chocolate. Chocolate, or more specifically cocoa butter, solidifies when it's cold. Adding it to our whipped cream should help set its structure. First, we make a thick ganache. Add 2 tablespoons cream to 3 ounces or 85 grams of finely chopped white chocolate. Stir to combine, then microwave for 30 seconds. Give it a good stir until all of the chocolate is melted. Cover tightly and place in the fridge for at least 15 minutes to cool down. Whip plain cream to soft peaks. No sugar here because all of the sweetness will come from the chocolate. Add the cooled chocolate to the cream and whip until firm peaks. I find that the chocolate kind of messes with the texture of the cream. Don't know if you can tell, but it's already getting kind of grainy as if it's over whipped, but it's not even quite at firm peaks yet. Yeah, this is noticeably softer than our other creams. Other than how soft it is, it's piping very smoothly and holding definition decently well. The flavor of the chocolate is definitely noticeable. It kind of adds that cocoa buttery richness and a different kind of sweetness to the cream. Gelatin. I've saved the most complicated method for last. Gelatin has to be melted in order to be added to the cream. The problem arises when melted gelatin hits cold cream and it instantly solidifies. Unless this is done very carefully, it can create countless small, really unpleasant, gluey little lumps of gelatin which are impossible to remove from the cream. To be honest, I've tried many times to perfect my technique, and I still sometimes will fail and end up with lumpy cream. Sprinkle half teaspoon gelatin over 2 tablespoons cold water and let this sit for 3 minutes to hydrate. Then microwave in 3-second increments until the gelatin is fully melted. This should only take 2 to 3 rounds. Add 2 tablespoons of cream to the gelatin to cool it down. This will help temper it from seizing up when added to the rest of the cream. Whip together cream and sugar until soft peak stage. Then slowly pour in the gelatin while vigorously whipping to incorporate. Keep whipping until firm peaks. Gelatin whipped cream has to be piped and used right away. Once it gets cold and fully set in place, it becomes unworkable and won't pipe or spread smoothly anymore. This cream feels the closest to regular whipped cream. I use the least amount of gelatin possible because too much and the whipped cream can end up weirdly gummy. This way though, it has essentially the same texture and airiness as our control. Yeah, there's not very much flavor from the gelatin. Maybe if I really look for it, I can kinda taste it, but that might also be my imagination, essentially identical to regular whipped cream. Now that we've made all of the creams, let's put them through their paces. Welcome to my lab. Okay, fine, it's a spare bathroom. But we're in here because I can shut the door, throw a space heater on, it's nice and toasty in here, 29 degrees Celsius. The camera set up so that we can have a time lapse, and this will be going for the next 6 hours, so we're truly putting the whipped creams to the test. It's past midnight now, so we're gonna head to bed and we will see the results tomorrow morning. Play the time lapse, let's check the results. For the first half hour, things are looking good. It isn't until around 50 minutes that we've got our first signs of weeping. Plain control, and surprisingly, milk powder as well. So much for stabilizing there. The rest are holding up alright, but notice how much white chocolate, and to a lesser extent gelatin, are spreading. Neither are weeping though. Very interesting. Oh, just under 2 hours, mascarpone is the next to go, followed half an hour later by cream cheese. Now cornstarch and pudding are the only two left in the game. Just under 3 hours and cornstarch has sprung a leak. Ladies and gentlemen, that leaves instant pudding sitting pretty in the corner, barely breaking a sweat. Over the next couple hours, things keep devolving for everyone aside from instant pudding. Pretty impressed by the performance there. After the first test, here's how I'd rank all of the creams by longevity. Before the second test, let's eliminate a few contenders. First off, cornstarch. I know that it came in second in our test, but that grittiness and starch flavor are just not it. It's unpleasant to eat, so it's gotta be a no from me, and yeah, just nope, taking it out of the running. Next, definitely milk powder, because, well, it didn't really do anything. And lastly, white chocolate. The softness and how much it spread is simply not cool. So yeah, it's gotta go. After the extreme stress test, the second round will be a little more realistic. I'm gonna turn the temperature down to a more temperate 28 Celsius or 82 Fahrenheit. Some more modifications. I made another batch of instant pudding whipped cream and reduced the amount of pudding mix in half. The last batch was just too stiff and didn't taste right to me. This second batch is much improved. It's still thickened and sturdy, but it's also lighter and more akin to actually being a whipped cream. I've also decided to throw in whipped cream made with powdered sugar instead of granulated. Powdered sugar is about 3% cornstarch by weight. Some people say that this helps stabilize the whipped cream. I'm curious to see if that's actually the case. Round 2. This time, all the creams are faring much better. It isn't until an hour 15 that powdered sugar starts weeping first, followed closely after by control. Guess that powdered sugar doesn't actually make much of a difference. 2 hour mark and both mascarpone and cream cheese have started leaking. Pudding and gelatin are holding on strong, no weeping whatsoever. Wow, what a difference in gelatin's performance. With a melting point of around 33 Celsius, gelatin clearly isn't suited for higher temperatures. In more moderate conditions though, it does a great job. I'd still say instant pudding is slightly better at preserving structure. Clearly, 4 creams have made it to the finish line. Let's score each of the whipped creams in our 4 categories. Cream cheese, ease of use, 2.5 out of 5. Taste and texture, 3 out of 5. Not as versatile, so I'm taking off a few points. Economy, 4 out of 5. Stability, 3.5 out of 5. Final score for cream cheese, 3.3. Gelatin, ease of use, 1 out of 5. There's always that chance of creating irreversible lumps. Taste and texture, 4 out of 5. This is the closest to regular whipped cream. However, it must be piped right away, so I'm docking a point for that. Economy, 3.5 out of 5. Stability, 4 out of 5 for moderate temperatures, and 2 out of 5 for higher temperatures. Final score for gelatin, 3.1 for moderate temperatures and 2.6 for high temperatures. Instant pudding, ease of use, 5 out of 5. Taste and texture, 3 out of 5. This score is for the second batch with less pudding mix. Economy, 5 out of 5. The pudding mix breaks down to only 26 cents to thicken 1 cup of cream. That is fantastic. Stability, 5 out of 5. Final score, 4.5 out of 5. Mascarpone, ease of use, 4 out of 5. Taste and texture, 4 out of 5. Economy, 1 out of 5. It came to $2.40 per cup of cream. That's almost 10 times the cost of the pudding mix. Stability, 3 out of 5. Final score, 3 out of 5. Here are the 4 creams ranked by final score. This actually really closely mirrors my thoughts. Instant pudding is the clear winner by far in most of the categories. Not only does it excel in performance, another major upside is that pudding mix stores really well in the pantry, so it'll always be there when you need it. Just don't use too much because it's a little too good at thickening. Cream cheese comes next because it performs pretty well. I like its flavor and it's just so much more foolproof than gelatin. Of course, assess on a case-by-case basis and decide whether the cream cheese flavor fits the occasion. Gelatin is good for moderate temperatures and for when you really want a light and airy texture that's as close to whipped cream as possible. Just be aware of the potential for failure and perhaps have extra cream on hand just in case. Lastly, mascarpone. Where I live and what I can get, it's just so pricey compared to the other methods. Perhaps it's different for you, but man, does it taste good. If you want richness, decadence, and creamy flavor, go for mascarpone. It's great for a special occasion. At last, we have clarity on all of the stabilization methods. Personally, I was shocked at how poorly milk powder and white chocolate performed. Yeah, let me know what you think. What are your takeaways from this whipped cream test? Anything that surprised you? Are there any stabilization methods that you use, which I missed? Please comment below and let me know. Also, let me know if there's anything else that you're mystified by in baking or cooking that you would like for me to test. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. My name is Sheldo, and I hope to see you again very soon.